Joe Cerrone.
And Alan Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 107 in our weekly Zoom classroom meeting.
Hey, Joe, before we start, can you go over that student assistance a little bit?
Of course, no problem. We have student assistance available for students in this course. If you'd like to schedule a time to work on projects or class assignments, we are available. Send an email or stop by at the following times and dates. And so Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 12:30, and that's the time that we create these Zoom recordings. Room P131 is where I do the recordings. P130 is the adjacent room next to it, and students are welcome to come by. Thursdays, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Skokie, same location. Fridays, we're working online. So if students want D2L assistance with a virtual meeting, we're available from 8:30 to 10:30. And then Sunday mornings, we're in person again here at the Skokie campus, P132. And we have the 3D printing technologies available to us here.
Thank you very much, Joe.
You're welcome. And just email us, give us a little heads up if you are coming so that we can make the appropriate accommodations for you. This week, we're releasing Lab 6, the memo block holder. And last week, we worked on lab number 5. Lab number 6 is this memo block holder. We have the information about how that in a video. Remember, we have our videos color coded here. So as we take a look at our lecture and our information about how to create this memo block holder, we have a student CAD file that students can download. And it's really a nice project. We're going to brand it with our name on it, or emboss it rather with our name on it. And so the instructions show how to work with AutoCAD to do that. For the video, let's go back. Here's our book assignment, and we're continuing to work on the projects from our projects book within book learning objectives. And so as we take a look at this assignment, it's just a Post-its holder. Create the drawing in millimeters, and so you need the metric title block or the student file, and essentially we'll create a rectangular solid. And then what we'll do, radiuses to it. Correct this feature here so that the memos have a little recess that they can sit in, so they'll stay there. And then we went the one step further to emboss it. So as we look at the projects and things, we want to start doing that. That's a big additive to working with the 3D printers, is that you can customize them. And we also want to know whose projects are whose. So you don't necessarily have to put Oakton College on it. You could put your name on it, and that would be just fine. And so here's the tutor file, CAD file, and so we'll download that, tutor.dwg. We can open that. And what we do, like we have been with the other files and other projects, is we show the modeling of it. And so here is an isometric view. And so we'll change our viewing perspective. You can either change it here, or you can use the view cube. If you use the view cube, click on the top. And it looks like I have to rotate it, so you can then rotate it. I'm not a big view cube person, so I'm going to bail out of that and go back to it from here. And so we start off with a two-dimensional geometry for the drawing. And this is per the print. I didn't dimension it, but if we look at the size of these, we have the 88. And then if we look at component, I'm going to also show this in the content section. We get 2 bonus projects. If you would like to do Lab 6B and Lab 6C, we'll talk about that. And then if we take a look at the sizes, of 38 millimeters. And why we like to work with these CAD systems as we start to work with it. And so when we go through and we create these student tutor files, we have that geometry so we can show you how we made it. So we start off with a 2-dimensional flat drawing, shift middle mouse wheel, and I can, and so we'll bring that up. And then we bring that up per the dimensions within the document here. And so that's going to be 10 millimeters. And there's a video on this. Add fillets to the corners. Rectangle on the top of it. Pull that rectangle down and then put another rectangle in the center of that. Drag that geometry out. And then using the bonus tools, we can put our college logo on there, or you can put your name on it. You can use 3D Builder as well. 3D Builder is much quicker. This takes a little bit more work, and it's in the video, but this works differently. It will actually allow you to subtract that geometry out there. It's a different style, and I think it works quite well as well. So with that, that's how the student file is going to work. We come back here in the D2L system, and we look at lab number 6. We have a PowerPoint lecture here, and if we take a look at the PDF, and I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to open, well, let's just take a look at it through here. So if we tie our 3D printer to the 2 textbooks, and as we go through and we look at how we can tie our lab projects into our textbook readings, the book has these different chapters on these different technologies. And so in part 1, chapter 1, we looked at 3D printer hardware and software, things like the type of printers that we were using, Delta printers, Cartesian printers, FDM printers, SLA printers. And then as we look at that, the next progression was to look at the printable materials. Are we printing with polylactic acid, PLA, ABS, acrylyl butyl sulfate, or nylon, or some of the. And then we're looking at the printer flow, where we basically start, and then we go to a slicer, and then we go to 3D printer. And it's very based on CAD. And so as we look at our CAD modeling techniques, we have some exercise examples of how students can create geometry that we can 3D print. They're basic extrusion techniques. They're shown in the videos. Here's a bonus exercise. Sort of looks like a vise where we would draw that component and then be able to create. We have our lofting technique. And if we look at our previous chapter, we created a vase project. We created a pencil holder. And if I switch over to, well, let me just complete this. Incorrect. Next week is not the midterm. Let me put my other one on. I'm not sure. But if we look at spring break is next week. So my apologies. I'll correct that in D2L. Spring break is next week. It begins on the 13th. and ends on March 20th. And we'll begin to review for the midterm after that. We'll have a practice exam and questions to make sure that everybody understands the technologies. All right. So with that, let's go take a look at our projects really quick. If we take a look at our last project, we were working on a bait. Project. And again, we want to make sure that we add our student information or college information. This was done in 3D Builder. Slicer, we're using spiralized outer contour, which is a way of building a large volume part in a very short amount of time. And so here's our project, here's our student file for lofting, and our lecture, and our videos on that. And so if we look at our video, $652 for the mutual.
That's different about a verbal vacation home.
So I'm not sure how it happened. This is a video. Here we go on how to enable spiralized outer contour, but we have a video in here as well. It's a really quick and neat technology because it'll just do one pass and build the part up. And as we take a look at, just show the parts that we have. If we change my video camera over to my desktop camera and I activate it, stop sharing, that should be full screen. Is that right, Al?
No, it isn't.
Oh, do I need to stop sharing?
Well, let's see what happens if I get out.
No, I think I just stopped sharing. Let's see. We'll do the best we can with it. From a standpoint of here's the spiralized outer contour project. And as you can see, it's just a very thin wall. You can see this, right, Al?
Yes, sir.
And so here's, and it's a nice large build volume. We had the student emboss their name on the part right here. And so as we take a look at the project, you can get some really nice, quick techniques. And then here's our chip clip from last week. We can also emboss these or add logos to them. You can see I've got a little bit of stringing here, which is not unusual. And then, this is the difference of when we emboss with 3D Builder versus embossing with AutoCAD. And so it's actually in AutoCAD, an extrusion and a cut of the feature. And so this would be a solid model. And you can see that the text looks a little cleaner and is easier to read than when we go through and we would emboss it. But the emboss looks really quite good as well. And actually this was done on SolidWorks. And so the text looks really awesome on SolidWorks when you model it versus when we emboss it. And we'll have to show that in a different video. All right, let's go back to sharing. So lab project number 5 was the base project, and you're welcome to come and pick those up over at the Skokie lab if you'd like to stop by. If we look at our due dates, Module 5 is due on Friday at 11:59. And then Module 6 will be due after spring break. And so spring break is next week. We will not have a Zoom meeting. Enjoy the time off. And then when we come back, we'll start to go over these different technologies from the textbook. And I'm not sure why this one's showing up, but we'll come back to that. Finals coming quicker than we think. Remember, if you need any extra assistance, we're available. Please email us and just ask for, tell us when you're coming, or if you would like a virtual meeting. And we'll continue to work on these projects like our memo block holder. We'll print those, communicate that to you through D2L, and then they'll be available in the Skokie campus for pickup in the blue bins with your 4-digit student identification number. It's just the last 4 digits. If you put your name on it, it makes it much easier. So please add your information on your 3D prints. All righty, Al, is there anything else that we want to talk about before we stop the recording and open things up for questions?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot today. That was great, Liz. It was doing a great job.
All righty, Al, I think you are too. The students are getting through the projects, turning into projects. You know, we're designing on CAD, we're slicing in the slicer, and then we're available for students who want to come in to work on the printers, but we can certainly print them and have them pick them up. All righty, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll post this and answer any questions.